With the advent of the internal combustion engine, the steam tractors started to be phased out. The new gas-powered tractors were becoming more affordable, so the smaller farms could use them for their farm work. Of course, the Depression cut into that until World War II was over.
Here we have a 1940 Farmall H owned by Bill Escott. He has a threshing machine behind him. These were very useful in laying field piles back in the day. This machine is still very, very well put together, runs very well. Thanks for bringing it through, Bill. Here we've got a smaller, this is a Case, built 1936, a Model C, owned by the Flint family out of Sycamore. This is sort of the end of the tractor wars. Most manufacturers by that point settled on a small, compact design that could do the work easily of 2 or 3 horses. Here, this is another part of the glorious nightmare period of tractor production in the United States. It's the 3060 Altman Taylor. This is a gas tractor, even though it looks very similar to the steam engine. It was built in 1924, owned by Steve Green out of Ford City, Illinois. This is the only prairie tractor we have on the ground this year. This was really the first bid for internal combustion engines to begin overtaking steam power on the American farm and industry in general. Now I'm going to hand the parade over to my colleague Adam Brown. He's going to announce some of the more modern tractors for us.
Here we've got a 1957 Oliver Super 88. This is owned by Ron Miller out of Hampshire, Illinois. It's got the road top standard wide front end. Beautiful fresh paint job on there. Those Oliver 88s, very popular pulling tractors back in the day. Very strong engines on them. Here we have a 1956 John Deere 80. This is actually owned by the Northern Illinois Steam and Power Club. It was donated by the Walgreen family. We've got a 1957 International 450D. This is Dan Wells out of DeKalb, Illinois. The 40s and 50s, some of the most popular tractors that John Deere made with the A and the B. This is a 1950 John Deere B47 late style. This is the Del Swanson's out of Sycamore, Illinois. 25 horse, 28. Runs on gasoline. They made these from 1947 to 1952. Here we got a 1929 KC owned by Julie Nates out of Garden Prairie, Illinois. This runs on kerosene. You'll notice some of these late 20s, early 30s cases, they had this gray paint job. That's because they were just coming out of World War I and they had a bunch of excess gray paint that they used for the military. They thought, well, we're never going to use that again. And so the manufacturers wanted to use it to paint some of their equipment, such as Case did with that tractor there. Here we have a Farmall to 1949. This is Moni Rangals out of Kingston, Illinois. This originally belonged to Butch Mates.
Here, this is another product of the JIK Threshing Machine Company in Racine, Wisconsin. This is one of their more successful gasoline tractors. Again, built during the age of steam, but this was really a wonderful small design. It's what's known as a cross motor, which simplified the machine for use of the belt pulley. Most of the machinery back in those days was still powered by long leather drive belts. Part of the Hubbard family collection. We have another evolutionary period gasoline tractor. This is a Russell 12 and 24 horsepower machine. I believe this was from 1919, part of the Linker collection of Malden, Illinois. And am I correct in saying this is the only one of these left? That's what I thought. This is the only one left in the world. Russell was a manufacturer of steam engines, and a lot of companies that produced steam back in the day, they tried to come up with gasoline tractors of their own, but only very select few managed to make the transition to power sources successfully. Here we have Rumley oil pull.
Pulls were called as such because they used an oil-cooled engine.
We've noticed in comparison to the Altman Taylor 3060 from earlier, this one is a much more compact design. Part of the process of machinery during this time period being condensed down. large machines like the traction engines and the prairie tractors such as this one kind of disappeared from the American farm by the Great Depression, and we didn't see things of that size again until well after World War II. This is a 1928 40-horse oil pull, part of the Linker family collection, again from Malden, Illinois. This is one of the last tractors we have here from the evolutionary, glorious nightmare period of engine design. It's a Hyder. Hyders were built in Rock Island, Illinois. One unique feature of this machine is it has a very unique transmission. In order to engage it, the drive shaft actually slides backwards and forwards, and it's just a simple friction contact between those large red drums you see there that drives the tractor. This one was a Model C built 1919, rated at 12 to 20 horsepower, part of the Shop family collection out of Highwood, Illinois. Thanks for bringing it through, guys.
Here we have a 1947 Case VAC. This is Jason Mates out of Marengo, Illinois. Runs on kerosene, 16-18 horsepower. They made those from 1942 to 1953. Here we have a Farm All Regular, 1929. It's an 18-horse owned by Austin Gorn out of Elburn, Illinois. In the late 20s, early 30s, International decided to make their own tractor called the Farm All, because it could do it all. You could plow with it, you could pull with it, anything you needed to do. And this was the next evolution of that. It's Farm All F12. That's a 1936. That's owned by Chris Garrett out of Hampton Hills, Illinois. Here we have an excellent example of an Alice Chalmers. This is a 1936 Alice Chalmers WC. It was owned by Reese Baker out of Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. Alice Chalmers, one of the first tractor companies to put pneumatic tires on their tractors. Here's a 1954 John Deere 70. This is Don Bodie's out of Sycamore, Illinois. Behind me, you see a 1935 John Deere B. This is Mike Bodie's out of Sycamore, Illinois. This is the unstyled general purpose. Meant to be a tractor that was easy to work on, very utilitarian, but very powerful. Good for mid-sized farms. Pulling the whole family behind. Here's another John Deere unstyled 1944 BR. This is Jennifer Bodie's out of Sycamore, Illinois. And another part of the Bodie family collection. This is the 1951 John Deere AR. James Bodie out of Sycamore, Illinois. Here we have a 1952 John Deere R. James Bodie out of Sycamore, Illinois. Here we have a John Deere 70. 1956. This is Jim Bodie and Jason Erickson out of Sycamore, Illinois. Here we have 1946 John Deere H. This is Harris Swedberg out of Sycamore, Illinois. These are made for more of a small to medium-sized farms. Have the classic tricycle design. Here we have an old 1931 John Deere GP. This is Carson Underwood out of Shabana, Illinois. Has an excellent patina on it, as we like to say. John Deere GP, when they came out with this, was one of their best-selling tractors. It was one of the first tractors to get commercial success. Here we got a 1946 John Deere B, 4147, late-styled 6-speed transmission, and Steve Thoreau's out of Garden Prairie, Illinois. Here we have a 1951 Ford 8N. This is Adam Helgeson out of Rochelle. Ford 8N, 9N series. Ford made those in partnership with Ferguson, who also made his own similar tractor out of the deal that they had together. Here's a 1936 John Deere BR. This is David Spinelli's out of Woodstock, Illinois. Here we got a 1979 International 184. Gordon Buckner's out of Sycamore, Illinois. 23 power, diesel fuel. Beautiful paint job on it. We have a very popular pulling tractor here. This is a John Deere 830 diesel. It's a 1959. This is Nick Rivera's out of Gilbert, Illinois. We have another excellent Alice Chalmers example. This is a 1955 Alice Chalmers WD-45. Chris Blake's out of DeKalb, Illinois. They made these from 1953 to 1957. They were very popular in the Alice Chalmers line. Here we've got a 1950 Farmall H. This is Kelso Kuipers out of Genoa. And here we have some half scales coming through. All of these, I believe, are with the Richardson family. First, we have another Alice Chalmers WD-45. And you saw the other one go through before, and this one is a perfect half-scale replica of it. It looks excellent. Here we have a half-scale of a Ford 8M in memory of Grandpa Lloyd Todd. And here we have a half-scale of a 1950 Farmall W6 Standard. Here we have a 1940 John Deere B. This is Terry Blake's out of McHenry, Illinois. Here we have another unstyled John Deere. This is a 1937 John Deere B. Still has the general purpose tag on it for that unstyled look. That's Dennis Shanks out of Elburn, Illinois. Here we have an excellent Minneapolis Moline. It's a Minneapolis Moline Z. Universal. Minneapolis Moline, very interesting. They wanted to make their tractors easier to work on, so some of the components they put in sideways so that it's easier for the farmers to get to them. They needed to work on them out in the field. Here we have a 1953 Farmall Super A. The Super basically just meant that it had a little bit more horsepower. This is Dennis Lewis's out of Elgin, Illinois, driven by Haley. You'll probably recognize her. She's been driving the people wagon around today. Thank you for doing that for us. Here we have another Oliver 88. This is 1953. This is Dennis Lewis's out of Elgin. Notice instead of the other 88 came through before, it had the wide row crop front end. This one has the tricycle design. Both tires nice and in the middle. Make sure you got between your crops without damaging anything. Here's a 1945 Farmall B. This is Rob Ryan out of Hampshire, Illinois. You'll see that the seat and steering wheel are actually offset to the side a bit. Some of the tractor companies experimented with that for a bit, thinking that you would have better visibility, being able to see around your engine, be able to see down the rows of the crops better. And I believe that has a wide back end too. Pulling this excellent red wagon, we have a 1954 Farmall Super M. This is Bob Thoreau's out of Hampshire, Illinois. With the whole family in tow. We have another excellent Alice Chalmers coming up here. Also, slight offset seating on that. There's a Alice Chalmers WC, one of the most popular models they have. This is a 1936. This is from the Lundorf family out of Genoa, Illinois. Here we have a beautifully restored, beautifully painted up Minneapolis Moline U. UTU to be specific. It's a 1949 George Landorf out of Montgomery, Illinois. Here we have a 1939 John Deere A 3840 style 4-speed. This is Charles Woodruff out of Elgin, Illinois. Runs on kerosene. Here we have an interesting piece. It's a 1956 case. It's owned by Charles Woodruff out of Elgin, Illinois, but it has an Allison motor in it. That thing sounds awesome. Case 300. Is the 300 the tractor, or is that your bucket number? Tractor, the bucket is 300. The tractor, case 300. Here we have a Farmall M, 1949, owned by the Jers out of Hampshire, Illinois, with family in tow. We have a couple excellent Alice Chalmers examples. I think they're both Alice Chalmers D10. D12, D10, and behind it a D12. Big brother, little brother. Again, Alice Chalmers, one of the first tractor companies to use those pneumatic tires. Here we have a John Deere A. 1949. Ethan Koch out of Rochelle, Illinois. You saw that 830 earlier. This one's from a similar line as the John Deere Diesel 720, owned by Stephen Bagg. Here we got a John Deere BR for 1938, unstyled. Here we have a very interesting piece. I believe this is a Ford 8N, but it's got a Dearborn grader on it. Here we have a 1958 John Deere 730, Thomas Ray, out of DeKalb, Illinois. This is the 36 730 that was ever manufactured. And here we have that Ferguson I was talking about earlier. Again, Ferguson was making tractors over in Britain, and Ford liked how he was doing things, so they worked together and they developed the 9N and also this, the Ferguson TO30. This is owned by Sparky Holtz out of Hampshire, Illinois. Here we have a Farmall M 1948, owned by Don Peterson out of Genoa, Illinois. This is a 1946 Oliver 70. This is Kenneth Jones out of Genoa. Has the road crop wide front end. Here we have what was a small farm tractor slash large garden tractor as a Farmall Cub. It's a 1952, just about 9 horsepower, but very sturdy. This is Jared Griffin's out of St. Charles with a one bottom plow on the back. Here we have a 1941 Farmall H. This is Jared Griffin out of St. Charles. Farmall H is a very popular model. They made these from 1939 to 1953. Here we have the Club's own Chris Johnson on his 1993 John Deere 3365 turf mower. Chris was very kind enough to go and get this from Cameron High School and get it back to working order so we can use it to keep the grounds mowed out here. Obviously, we have a lot of ground to cover. That means we need a big mower to do it. So we thank him for doing that for us. Here's a 1949 Case SC. This is Rich Patterson's out of Rochelle, Illinois, with a nice little hair rack on the back. Here's a 1944 John Deere A. This is Chuck Bergsmith out of Sycamore, Illinois. Again, the A and the B were two tractors that John Deere produced for a long time. They produced them for about 15, 20 years. And they were some of the most popular tractors that John Deere made, especially among the small to medium-sized farmers. Here this was after the A and the B sort of got phased out. And it was a 1952 John Deere 50. It was owned by Eugene Morgan out of Hampshire, Illinois. Eventually, John Deere moved on from their A, B, H series onto a numbered series. It started with the 50, the 60, 70, and the 80. Here we have a 1951 John Deere A It's a 47 late style. This is Joe Lynn's out of Sycamore, Illinois. Representing Cub Scout Pack 118. Here we have a very unique tractor. This is a Twin City KTA to 1934. And here we have a 1952 Farmall Super C, owned by Alan Enderman out of Naperville, Illinois. 21 horse, gasoline, made them from 51 to 54. Here we have another great example of a Farmall Cub. This one's a 1948. Owned by Eldon Pfaff out of Huntley, Illinois. Only had about 8.5 horsepower. They made them from 47 to 64. Great little tractors though, very reliable. Here you have a Farmall M, also owned by the Pfaff family. This is a 1948. And as the big brother to the Cub, much more powerful, 31 horse. Here we have an Oliver 70. It's a 1949, 42, owned by Hendricks. Here we have another Farmall Cub. Custom grill on the front though, it looks like. Owned by Josh Block. We have another Rumley oil pull coming through here. Again, called the oil pull because they were oil cooled. This one's a 1928, so right at the end of the steam era, we're transitioning into new ways of agriculture, tractor development. Here we have a 1944 John Deere A, owned by the Nye family. Owned by Kelly Nye. It was bought from the Dave Snyder collection. Dave Snyder used to be a longtime member here, and he was one of the people that would sit up here and announce with us. And he was certainly a heck of a lot smarter than me, and we wish he was still here. Here we have Taylor Sunderlich on his 1957 John Deere B. Just messing with him. John Deere 520. This one's a 1957, 38 horse. Taylor is one of our directors here. He lives nearby and he does a heck of a lot of work for the club. And here we have Jimmy Esposito driving Taylor Sunderlich's 1965 John Deere 4020. John Deere 4020 was one of the most popular tractor series of John Deere's line, and they came out with the 4020 in the 60s. It made up about 60% of their tractor revenue. Here we have a 1958 Oliver 880. This is Mark Brown's out of Sycamore, Illinois. 55 horse. And pulling the family in tow. Here we have an International 424 to 1966. Has a roll cage on it. That could be for either if you were working on hillsides, you wanted to make sure if you tipped over you didn't get hurt, or doing orchard work, you wanted to make sure that you're keeping the branches out of the driver's face. Here we have a 1954 John Deere 60. Again, in the 50s they came out with the two-digit serial number, or the two-digit model numbers rather. So there's that 50, 60, 70, 80 series. It has an excellent patina on it. Looks like it's got a lot of work done. That's Tim Schultz. And this is Tim Schultz in his John Deere 70 diesel. It's a 1956. He's from Hampshire, Illinois. Here's another excellent Minneapolis Moline Z. This is Michelle Bacon. Here we have a John Deere 520 with a wide row crop front end. And and it has power steering, something that farmers were very glad to get right around the late 40s, early 50s. Here we have a 1946 John Deere A4147 style 6-speed with Terry Swanson Jr. out of Mundelein, Illinois. Here we have a 1944 Farmall H Maxwell Wilson out of Marengo, Illinois. Farmall H again very popular, made from 39 to 53. Here we have a 1939 Ford 9N. Cliff Benson's out of Sycamore, Illinois. Again, this Ford 9N, Ford made these in partnership with Ferguson from across the pond, per se. Here we have a 1947 Ford 8M, 30 horse. This is T.C. Bush. She sang the national anthem for us, and we thank her tremendously for that. From White House, Tennessee. Here we have an International Super C. It's a 1953. This is Matt Bush out of White House, Tennessee. In memory of Casey Bagg. Here we have a 1946 Farmall H. This is Kenneth Benson's out of Portland, Illinois. Here we have a very special piece coming through here. This is a 1925 Farmall Regular. It's owned by Matthew Swank out of Crystal Lake, Illinois. Again, as we were saying earlier, the Farmall Regular, this is the first tractor really that International got commercially successful, called the Farmall because it could do it all. This one is very special because it was made in 1924 and was the 386th one out of 100,000 of these that they made. One of the first to come off the line. Here we have a 1948 John Deere A47 late style. This is John Thompson from Genoa, Illinois, with his wife Sam and their baby, newly minted. Here we have a 1950 Farmall M. This is Russ Runge out of Genoa, Illinois. The excellent custom part on the back. Here we've got another great example of these gray case tractors. Again, some of these early case tractors are gray because they had leftover gray paint from World War I and for some reason thought they wouldn't need it again. This is Dustin Listner out of Sycamore, Illinois. And that runs on kerosene. Here we have Wyatt Sunderland. Wyatt, who's sitting right here helping us with the tech. This is actually his tractor. It's a 1948 Ford 8N. Wyatt Sunderland hails from Kingston, Illinois. Here we have a 1951 Minneapolis Moline R. This is owned by Samantha Wright from Elgin, Illinois. Samantha and her husband Mike, both longtime members here. They do a heck of a lot of work out here to help us, and we thank them for that. Again, these Minneapolis Molines are kind of funky. They got some parts that are in there sideways, but it was to help out the farmers who need to work on them. Here we have Rob Ryan on his excellent example of a John Deere 4020 diesel. It's a 1964. Rob hails local from Burlington. This tractor here needs a lot of work done. Here we have a military vehicle. This is a Dodge M37. This is actually the precursor to the Power Wagon. If you've ever heard of Dodge Power Wagon, this is a 1963. It's made in Detroit, Michigan. This is James Dreskus from Genoa, Illinois.